Hi, this is my week 4 Scratch Reflection Journal. This week was our final chance to add any finishing touches to our piece and make sure that everything could run smoothly for the performance. As a group, we had to make sure that we had written down everything in the script that we needed, including lighting cues, and we had to make sure that we knew the sound that we wanted for the piece. As we had performed what we had so far for our piece for the rest of the groups and our practitioners Ellie and Sophie last week, we had to take into consideration the advice that we had been given by them. So one piece of advice we were given by Ellie and Sophie was that our piece wasn't original enough and that it was too similar to the original story of The Wizard of Oz. And obviously this is quite a challenge as we were trying to recreate a story, well, not recreate, but take aspects from a story that is so well known and iconic and make it our own. So we really had to look into this and take into consideration how we could achieve the product we wanted whilst still making it similar to the original story, but taking a whole different spin on it. What we were told by Ellie and Sophie is to take into consideration how we could make changes to our piece so that it would make it original and so that it would be interesting for the audience so that they could stay involved with the performance the entire time. This gave us the chance as a group to have discussions about what we needed to do in order to achieve this and in the space of time that we had, as it isn't much time until we have to perform our performances for a public audience. As well as this, it allowed us to make quite drastic changes to the script and our characters and made us think about what really needs to be changed and how we could do this and how we could come together as a group to make sure that we had the best performance possible. Unfortunately, this week and last week, we didn't have the full amount of people for our group, so we had to work around this and communicate with that missing member of our group how we had now changed this piece and how we needed her to learn the lines for it and the changed vision that we had now had. We also had to discuss the possibility of not having all the members in our group as we didn't have the number this week or last week. So we had to look at multiple different ways that we could create the same vision but without that extra member of our group. I think that the pieces of advice we have received from Ellie and Sophie over the last week has really helped to strengthen our group, as it means that it's at a much higher standard than it was before, and it's also allowed us to look at much more possibilities and opportunities for our group. And these ideas are things that we weren't thinking about before, and we really weren't taking into consideration everything that could happen with the piece. I think that this week was a massive wake-up call for our group, as it showed us that we weren't show ready yet, and it also allowed us to look at all the possibilities of things that could go wrong. So this meant that we could then have those conversations with Ellie and Sophie, and they really helped to guide us through how we could get our group to a strong level. So now our group is a lot more strong than it was previously. I think what my group now needs to do is be really making the most out of the time that we have outside of our sessions and communicating with each other what is and isn't working and how we can look at what will happen if something goes wrong or if we don't have all the group members. I think that communication is something that's really important for our group, as it means that we're allowed to be open and honest about what we are and aren't enjoying about our piece, and it allows us to be comfortable with what we're doing, because if we aren't comfortable with the piece that we're performing, then it isn't going to be enjoyable for the audience and it's not going to be a believable piece. And if we're comfortable with what we're doing, then we're going to be putting all our energy into it, and it's just going to make the piece so much stronger. I think that when you're making theatre and pieces of devised work especially, it's so important to receive advice from another pair of eyes from outside of your group, as it allows you to look at things that you haven't looked at before, and it offers a really truthful perspective, and it just makes your piece so much more open-minded, in my opinion.